Good evening and welcome back to another episode of The Longing, where today we are going to be continuing to read our book, Homer's Iliad. So, let's get going with that, shall we? So raged Tydides, boundless in his ire, drove armies back and made all Troy retire. With grief the leader of the Lycian band saw the wide waste of his destructive hand. His bended bow against the chief he drew. Swift to the mark the thirsty arrow flew, whose forky point the hollow breastplate tore. Deep in his shoulder pierced and drank the gore. The rushing stream his brazen armour dyed, while the proud archer thus exulting cried, "Hither, ye Trojans, hither drive your steeds. Lo, by our hand the bravest Grecian bleeds. Not long the deathful dart he can sustain, or Phoebus urged me to these fields in vain." So spoke he, boastful, but the winged dart stopped short of life and mocked the shooter's art. The wounded chief behind his car retired, the helping hand of Sthenelus required. Swift from his seat he leapt upon the ground, and tugged the weapon from the gushing wound. When thus the king his guardian power addressed, the purple current wandering o'er his vest. "O progeny of Jove, unconquered maid, if e'er my godlike sire deserved thy aid, if e'er I felt thee in the fighting field, now, goddess, now thy sacred succour yield. O give my lance to reach the Trojan knight, whose arrow wounds the chief thou guard'st in fight. And lay the boaster grovelling on the shore, that vaunts these eyes shall view the light no more." Thus prayed Tydides, and Minerva heard. His nerves confirmed, his languid spirits cheered. He feels each limb with wonted vigour light, his beating bosom claimed the promised fight. "Be bold," she cried, "in every combat shrine. War be thy province, thy protection mine. Rush to the fight and every foe control. Wake each paternal virtue in thy soul. Strength swells thy boiling breast, infused by me, and all thy godlike father breathes in thee. Yet more from mortal mists I purge thy eyes," 145, "and set to view the warring deities. These see thou shun through all the embattled plain, nor rashly strive where human force is vain. If Venus mingle in the martial band, her shalt thou wound, so Pallas gives command." With that the blue-eyed virgin winged her flight. The hero rushed impetuous to the fight. With tenfold ardour now invades the plain, wild with delay and more enraged by pain. As on the fleecy flocks when hunger calls, amidst the field a brindled lion falls. If chance some shepherd with distant dart, the savage wound he rouses at the smart. He foams, he roars, the shepherd dares not stay, but trembling leaves the scattering flocks a prey. Heaps fall on heaps, he bathes with blood the ground, then leaps victorious o'er the lofty mound. Not with less fury stern Tydides flew, and two brave leaders at an instant slew. Astinus breathless fall, and by his side his people pastor, good Hypenor, died. Astinus' breast the deadly lance receives, Hypenor's shoulder his broad falchion cleaves. Those slain he left, and sprung with noble rage, Abas and Polydius to engage. Sons of Eurydamas, who, wise and old, could fate foresee and mystic dreams unfold. The youths returned not from the doubtful plain, and the sad father tried his arts in vain. No mystic dream could make their fates appear, though now determined by Tydides' spear. Young Xanthus next, and Thun felt his rage, the joy and hope of Phaenops' feeble age. Vast was his wealth, and these the only heirs of all his labours and a life of cares. Cold death o'ertakes them in their blooming years, and leaves the father unavailing tears. To strangers now descends his heapy store, the race forgotten, and the name no more. 2 sons of Priam in one chariot ride, glittering in arms and combat side by side, as when the lordly lion seeks his food, where grazing heifers range the lonely wood. He leaps amidst them with a furious bound, bends their strong necks, and tears them to the ground. So from their seats the brother chiefs are torn, their steeds and chariot to the navy borne. With deep concern did dive Cneus viewed, the foe prevailing, and his friends pursued. Through the thick storm of singing spears he flies, exploring Pandarus with careful eyes. At length he found Lycaon's mighty son, to whom the chief of Venus's race begun. Where, Pandarus, are all thy honours now, thy winged arrows and unerring bow, thy matchless skill, thy yet unrivalled fame, and boasted glory of the Lycian name. O pierce that mortal, if we mortal call, that wondrous force by which whole armies fall. Or God incensed who quits the distant skies, to punish Troy for slighted sacrifice. Which, O avert from our unhappy state, for what so dreadful as celestial hate. Whoe'er he be, propitiate Jove with prayer, if man destroy, if God entreat to spare. To him the Lycian whom your eyes behold, if right I judge, is Diomed the bold. Such coursers whirl him o'er the dusty field, so towers his helmet, and so flames his shield. If 'tis a god, he wears that chief's disguise, or if that chief some guardian of the skies. Involved in clouds protects him in the fray, and turns unseen the frustrate dart away. I winged an arrow which not idly fell, the stroke had fixed him to the gates of hell. And but some angry god withstands, his fate was due to these unerring hands. Skilled in the bow, on foot I sought the war, nor joined swift horses to the rapid car. 10 polished chariots I possessed at home, and still they grace Lycaon's princely dome. There veiled in spacious coverlets they stand, and twice 10 coursers wait their lord's command. The good old warrior bade me trust to these, when first for Troy I sailed the sacred seas. In fields aloft the whirling car to guide, and through the ranks of death triumphant ride. But vain with youth and yet to thrift inclined, I heard his counsels with unheedful mind, and thought the steeds, your large supplies unknown, might fail of forage in the straitened town. So took my bow and pointed darts in hand, and left the chariots in my native land. Too late, O friend, my rashness I deplore. These shafts, once fatal, carry death no more. Tydeus's and Atreus's sons their points have found, and undissembled gore pursued the wound. In vain they bleed, this unavailing bow serves not to slaughter, but provoke the foe. In evil hour these bended horns I strung, and seized the quiver where it idly hung. Cursed be the fate that sent me to the field, without a warrior's arms, this spear and shield. If e'er with life I quit the Trojan plain, if e'er I see my spouse and sire again, this bow, unfaithful to my glorious aims, broke by my hand, shall feed the blazing flames. And with that, we're going to come to the end of the reading, because we're a bit too close to the end of the episode to be able to get another page read in time. So, with that said, I will say thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you all have a wonderful morning, evening, afternoon, or night. No matter what time of day it is, I hope you all have a wonderful one of it. And as always, we will be back tomorrow for more of The Longing. Goodbye.